there is in the information war. A war that started probably a long time ago, since the times of our independence, since 1991 when Ukraine gained an independence. That is why I think that media literacy and media studies is a crucial subject to learn, because it can protect us from fake news, misinformation, from Russian propaganda. And this is not just in the context of Russian propaganda, but in general terms. It can protect us from being victims of falsehood. So what is media literacy? It's the ability to access, analyze, evaluate, and create media. So basically, all our abilities to think, to communicate, to form relationships, the sense of our own identity now is being shaped by media. So what are the basic questions? Who is the producer, the storyteller of the message? What is he trying to say? Does the message try to entertain you, to shock you, to call to action, or any other aim of the message? Is there anything left out of the message? Is there something that has not been told? How different people may interpret the message? And also you can follow the money trail. What is the benefit of the storyteller?
I want to add something about marriage stereotype. There are a lot of pressures of young women that they need to get married and to have kids. The sooner, the better. Our mothers and our grandmothers are teaching us from our childhood how to cook and how to clean, but not how to sing. Especially in the young ages, because I think 20s is very young age for the marriage. Lately, because of the stereotypes, there are a lot of people who are divorced because of these young mistakes. And in addition, a lot of women in their 30s and a lot of men in their 40s look like outsiders in our society. Why? We don't know why. We cannot explain why. We just think in this stereotypical way, and we don't know what is right and what is wrong. At the end, I want to add something about philosophy. My philosophy. Should we really break stereotypes? So they give us a feeling of safety. They give us a feeling of irresponsibility. We don't need to think a lot. We just have some established views, and we can live using them. But it can be very dangerous. The brightest example of all is Nazi Germany, 1930s, 1940s. 1930s, 1940s, when there was a stereotype that Aryans about Jewish and about all. We all know how this was used, especially by German elite in media. We know the end. So as you can see, the stereotype can be very dangerous.
First of all, I have to tell you that advertisements aren't inherently bad, but many companies use manipulative tactics in order to influence us in the ways we don't even realize. And many people have problems accepting this idea because we want to believe that we are in a full control of our choices. So for today, I have chosen the advertisement of Mercedes-Benz C-Class. The actions are taken at the almost perfect world where they have perfect roads, everyone has private houses, expensive cars, green trees. And as you can say, this is far away from our reality. That proves that this car was created for an upper stratum of the population. As we take into account the price for this car starts from at $40,000, and if we take into account an average monthly salary in Ukraine, that is $150, it means that Ukrainians have to work for 15 years to buy this car, and not even eating. And so this fact tells us about the high financial status of the families. It is only shown the only one Afro-American boy, and the commercial delivered to him only 2 seconds, and among of all the kids he was shown the fourth, not the first or the second, and it also tells us about inequality. As to the music, if you have paid attention, the music that was played here was a symphony, and who is listening to classical music, of course that's also upper class society.
All to know that we are fighting the fake news. It's fake, phony, fake.
So the term fake news became common during the past year. Its concept has a lot of synonyms: information campaign, cognitive hacking, and information warfare. But all of these have one main function, and it's the manipulation of public opinion.
Think of the image of Uncle Sam and the I Want You posters used to encourage people to join the military. Thought heavy use this image and slogan sent a message that joining to the military was the patriotic thing to do.
So, Nazi Germany is a very good example of propaganda of previous century, because the Nazis were able to convince the German people that the economic depression and different difficulties and problems was not the failure of government, but was the failure of immigrants, especially the Jewish people. It also, German propaganda was based on the fact that Germans are a better nation, and all others, and genetically they deserved to rule the world.
The Soviet Union participated in the battle for hearts and minds using different propaganda tools, including state-run radio station, television channels, and newspapers. Having a monopoly of information, the state used the propaganda vehicle to spread its ideology by emphasizing the advantages of the socialist life.
What about modern examples of propaganda? We have chosen Russia and North Korea. Why Russia? Russia because the influence of its propaganda has a very destructive influence on our state, on Ukraine.
And I'd like to draw your attention to our organization in Ukraine. It's called Stop Fake Org. I hope that lots of you are familiar with that organization. So its main aim is to debunk fake news, mostly from Russian propaganda.
It's a shell company. It's a work of Banksy, very famous German, also Banksy. Culture jamming is a tactic used by many anti-consumerist social movements to disrupt or subvert media culture and its mainstream culture institution, including corporate advertising. It attempts to expose the method of domination of mass society to foster progressive change.
For your presentations. They were very informative. You did a great job. So my question is, how do you think globalization or open channels throughout the entire world, how do you think globalization has affected your respective presentations and areas?
Well, I think that globalization has some influence and impacted our presentation, because the presentations are actually about media. And media is the tool of globalization, because throughout the media they have impact on the societies.
And I wanted to ask if we should pay attention to ads at all when we choose a product to buy. Like,
it's not possible to pay attention to them because they are everywhere.
I don't pay attention, sorry, because I have ad block, I don't watch TV, and like sometimes they appear in YouTube and I just close them or change the...
On the buses, on the street. it's people are telling us that's also some kind of advertisement.
So it's very important too that media literacy, I suppose that media literacy should be added to the school program, and it would be very important.
What food?
Because I think that it's very important when children from their childhood they start to distinguish false information and true information.
It's impossible. They are too young for that. By the way, concerning propaganda, you've just depicted us Korean and Russian and Nazi propaganda. One didn't you mention our propaganda, which our media's overfull with? Don't you mention? Don't you notice it every day by TV or radio or another media?
I agree with you, but as for me, the most harmful propaganda concerning to Ukrainians is from Russia, and nowadays propaganda, North Korean propaganda. We have chosen not North Korean propaganda because, in my opinion, it's even an example about football. It's so crazy and funny. That's why, and I agree that from our side there is a little bit propaganda too.
Oligarchian propaganda is used.
Yes, there is a lot of propaganda, but when we have taken all of these types, we will not have. We would need a lot of time.
Because actually, this example with fake news, people don't analyze it. The people don't go off this site and they don't analyze. It takes a lot of time. Yes. To go to the primary source. Do we have to lie to fight this aggressive sort of Russian propaganda?
I don't think we have to lie, as you mentioned that site of fake, and you say, I think that's a big deal to go and check the website. That is why we are here and we are trying to say that it's a good thing to go to stopfake.org and check out the debunked fake news that is coming from the Russian side. Of course, there is a huge deal of time that is spent on analyzing the news, but basic questions, what is the storyteller, what is his message, maybe there is something omitted.
I think what's important to mention is that every TV channel is owned by somebody, and this TV channel protects this somebody, and he works for him, because this company or this person gives them money. So if you want to see some independent news, you should look for some independent sites, some newspapers.
We have some channels that are paid by someone. So can you name some states, or at least one state that is probably free out of that, is free of that bad propaganda?
No, we cannot name.
No one is free of that. It's a part of our life. Globalization, media is 21st century. We cannot avoid it. We just can't fight it.
Yeah, and every Ukrainian channel has its owner, really.
The last part of media literacy is creating media. So what kind of media do you want to see coming out of Ukraine in the future? Or what kind of media would you hope to create yourselves in the future?
As for me, I very like social media about social character, as we had an example of anti-drinking, anti-alcohol media. I very like it, and I would like to make such media.
And also the media that will be connected on promoting Ukraine in the foreign countries, because I don't think that the work of Ukraine is enough, for now at least. And other countries don't know about Ukraine anything, but only the stereotypes that were created there. So it's two ways to work on positive propaganda and how to fight stereotypes.
Okay. Unfortunately, we are out of time. Hopefully, you are more media literate after this presentation, and that we'll continue this discussion. We need to continue talking about media literacy and doing media literacy and thinking about thinking critically about the media. Just like to thank the students today for their wonderful presentation, and thank you for coming out today.